My name's Leanne Hahn. I'm a physician assistant. I am an aesthetic injector. You might know me as the best injector on Instagram.
And I'm Ali Sanchez. You might know me as Pink Buzz Media on Instagram, and I am her social media manager.
So obviously, it's not news. Ali's been doing my social media for a long time now. How long has it been? It's been
Like a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
It'll be 2 years this fall. And basically, I've known her for a long time. We met in high school, and I remember logging on. I think I was on social media, and I saw you post that this was kind of like a new business venture that you were getting into. I remember you were previously doing something in healthcare, and before that you were doing something in real estate. And it was around a time where I felt like social media was something I needed to work on and build for myself. And coincidentally, you were posting that this was something that you were getting into. So I was like, let me explore this a little bit, find out a little bit more about what she's trying to do, what's going on, and if this is something that I want to work with you on. And I thought it was really interesting, like how that came about, given like the variety of backgrounds that you've worked in at that point.
Yeah.
And now this seems to have done very well for you. I guess let's tell everyone kind of about how you got to where you are.
So I actually have done social media for a long time. So my family has a lot of different businesses that I was helping them with social media. And I did real estate, like you mentioned, and I still have my license, and my family owns a brokerage. And so, of course, like, part of being, part of the family, I took on that responsibility and I helped with their social media and helped them grow. And then I also did a lot of stuff with just a lot of nonprofit organizations, and I did their social media and I helped them with a lot of social media stuff that they were having. And so I felt like there was just always something about social media, and everyone's on social media. And I realized, well, I got a career in healthcare, as we talked about, and I figured I need to start doing something like running my own business, having kids and being a stay-at-home mom, grow a business, but also be able to use a lot of the things that I'm good at. And one of them was social media. And so I said, you know what, might as well just start my own business. And that's when you reached out to me and you were like, would you ever consider, something in aesthetics? And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I said to you, I was like, are you kidding me? I would love that, because it's tying in something fun that I love, the artistic side, but also the healthcare side. And I thought it was a great fit. And then the rest is history. After I started with yours, that's all I focus on now.
Yeah, so I think there was like a bit of a transition. You kind of didn't start out focusing like solely on aesthetics, and like now that's the only thing that you're wanting to do, right?
Right.
And so how did you kind of go from deciding to like cut out all of the other types of industries and just hone in on that one thing?
I think it's just because I liked it. And it's one of those things that when you really like something, you might as well like put all your effort into it. And I also think that it's really important, and you know this as well as I do, with aesthetics. Like, you have to have somebody that understands the lingo, that understands the medical aspect of it too, and that knows how to post something that you don't have to rely on. Backtrack. That you can rely on somebody to do all the things like the captions or your stories, and you don't have to micromanage everything. Someone you can trust. And I figured I might as well just dive into it, like full force, because in social media, and social media managers will tell you that you have to have a niche that you focus in on. Otherwise, what's the point? Like if I was doing real estate and if I was doing attorneys and if I was doing you, I wouldn't get good at something. And for me, it was really important to get very good at something and enjoy what I'm doing. And so it just, after I started with you, it just became natural to me. And that was really why.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of like when someone's looking for a photographer, people are like, I need somebody that does pictures for my newborn, or I need family photos, or I'm looking for headshots. And when you go out there and you're looking for photographers, everybody has their different niche like you're talking about.
Yep.
And to me, it's always a little bit red flaggy when you have that photographer who claims to like do it all.
Yeah.
Because I find when I look at their work, although they might do it all, it's never really that good in any one particular area. It's like trying to be, a jack of all trades and a master at none. So I definitely respect that kind of like honing in on like a specialty and really deciding what it is that you're passionate about, that you like, and focusing kind of your work in that area where you are educating yourself on the different things within aesthetics to be able to provide a better service to your clients.
Exactly. Yeah. And it really all started with you.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I had an esthetician. And so it was like kind of the similar vibe, but not, it's different. But yeah, after you, I was like, this is what I want to focus in on. And then I just started getting clients, and that's where I'm at. And I plan on doing it for as long as I can.
So before doing like aesthetics and social media, had you ever done anything yourself aesthetic wise, like Botox, fillers, anything like that?
I always wanted to, but it's kind of one of those things where you think, and this is why I think this is another reason why I really like educating people, because you have this idea that if you get anything done, you're going to look fake and you're going to look horrendous, and it's going to be like the episodes of Botched, and it's not. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I love it so much also. It's I get to see the before and afters, and I get to see good quality work, and your work is phenomenal. And I'm able to see, the before and afters and how you're able to transform somebody and make them look like a better version of themselves, not somebody completely different. And so I had never done anything until I started seeing all that. And I'm like, wait a second. Okay, so I can look like myself. I can look normal. And being able to educate other people, like, it's so much fun for me to show people this, and even for myself, this is what I have done. This is how many syringes I have or units or whatever. And they can see that I look normal. I don't look like I'm about to go on an episode of Botched. So
what was the first thing you ever had done?
Botox and lip filler.
Okay. And
I feel like everyone starts off with Botox and lip filler.
I'd like to think that everybody starts off with Botox. Usually it would be kind of like my first thought, but then there are a decent amount of people that come in and their first thing is actually lip filler. And I'm always like, that's shocking to me, because I feel like the real gateway to aesthetics is more so like Botox, Dysport, any of the neurotoxins is kind of like an easy way in. And then if somebody just jumps right for a lip filler or any other type of filler, I feel like you're taking quite a big leap from something where neurotoxins might have been like a better entry point. So for those people, it's always interesting to me because they go right to lip filler, which I think is probably one of the most painful fillers somebody could have done if they just did like numbing cream or something. And then when they go to get something else done, let's say they like are worried then to get Botox or other areas of the face done, they're like, oh my gosh, is it going to hurt? And it's like, gosh, you have no idea, because you jumped right in and the first thing you did is literally the most painful thing that you could have had done. So that's always very interesting, the people that do that first. And so now, cumulatively, what's everything that you've had done now, having worked in the industry for like a year and a half?
Yeah. So I'm like routine every 3 to 4 months, my Botox, obviously. That's like, if I had to stop everything else, the one thing that I would do is for sure my Botox. I feel like that's the one thing that I'm hooked on. Now, anytime I see movement, I'm like throwing up. Like I hate seeing the movement. And I've had lips. So I think I have like close to 2 syringes of lips by now. I have my nasolabial folds. I have chin shadow, a little bit like right here towards the jawline, cheek.
Nice. And so out of all these things that you've done, what was like the most game changer thing for you?
So I was always self-conscious of my top lip, because you know me from before. I have like a really big bottom lip, and I hated how it never matched. And for me, that was something that I knew I wanted to always get done. And I think I've been talking about it forever. But you don't know, and you don't know who you can trust, right? And so when I got my top lip, that was game changer for me. I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted. The look that I wanted, it kind of evens things out. It makes my face look more proportionate. I think it was the lips.
I agree. I mean, I've seen some of your like before and after photos that you've posted like through the time of like not having anything done to where you are now. And for sure the lips was probably one of the things that I noticed in your pictures that really started to like balance out your face. Mm-hmm. There was like a bit of a gummy smile before. That's now corrected with that. And when you smile, it looks better, like you said, with the balance between the upper and lower lip, and probably even just like the whole face is balanced better now with it, which is really interesting. And I think a lot of people don't realize that There's different things that we can do to people that, one area might be treated, but really it affects your whole face and how everything kind of works in synergy together, which is really important. I know another thing that you mentioned was, obviously people are scared that they're going to look like botch, and you do have the opportunity to see a lot of like before and after pictures online, whether it's people you work with or don't work with, because you're seeing it all of the time. Is there a way that you could tell like if somebody like photoshopped their pictures?
Oh my gosh. I cannot stand when I see pictures that are photoshopped, because why would you go to an injector who's not showing you real results? Like, why?
So how does somebody know?
Well, you can always tell. Like, the skin doesn't look like normal skin. Skin has texture. I mean, you could get all the microneedling, all the pills in the world. You're still going to have some form of texture. Skin is not completely filter, like that filter look. And then when I see that the lips are completely lined, there's no any, how like when you inject, there's always maybe like a little tiny bit of blood where you injected. And so sometimes there's still like that residue of the syringe entering your lip. And when you see nothing, it looks extremely fake and extremely filtered. And that to me is a red flag. Why would you go to somebody that's filtering their before and afters? I know one of the reasons why your page does so well is because you're so good at taking the before and afters, and you do videos. And that to me, if they're not posting videos, that's another red flag. Why are they not posting videos? Because maybe they're not looking as good as the pictures that are filtered. Your pictures and your videos always match. There's no difference in them, And so then that's how you can tell, okay, she's a real good injector and her work is legitimate and it's not filtered and edited. Also, when they do videos, a lot of times you'll see the cinematic is perfect because it blurs the background. But when the face is very blurred and the face is very that, filtered look, that's another way. Why is the skin so perfect? Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I've seen what you're talking about. I've seen it happen, unfortunately, more often than I'd like to admit that I've known injectors doing this to their pictures. Particularly, we have such easy access now to those different apps where people can just go on there and just edit a picture in like 2 seconds. And I agree that it's somewhat unethical. There's people that are choosing you and coming to you for your work. And people are judging your work off of, unfortunately, in this situation, what we're talking about, like a filtered photo or photoshopped picture. And that's not fair to a patient that's considering going to somebody. And so it's really important to have authentic work, which, like you mentioned, I do videos. And the reason I actually even started incorporating videos was because I never wanted anybody to doubt my work. And so I almost felt like I needed to prove that by doing video footage of my work and showing people like, look at these images, they look incredible, but like this doesn't just look incredible in these images. This is real life. Like I'm going to show it to you in this video. And, I'm kind of like a one-man show where I am, so I don't have an assistant or anything. There's times I forget to do videos, but I do my best to try to take video footage when I can of the before and after so people can really see that. I think it's actually also more dramatic when you're really watching the video in real time and you're like, wow, like that really is real.
Yeah.
It's so impactful. And, so I think that's important for injectors to include on their social media, like you said, not just the photos, but also the videos to demonstrate and build trustworthiness with their clients or potential patients and demonstrate that their work is something that is authentic.
Right. And at the end of the day, why would you go to somebody that's not showing you those results, right? It's almost like that whole don't group on your face. It's the same concept. You're not going to go to somebody that's, grouponing their prices. But you're also, why would you go to somebody that's not showing you real results? What are they trying to hide?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's just tough. I just feel like, having worked in the industry, I can also tell now, like when something doesn't look quite right, but I feel bad because there's patients and people out there that otherwise unknowingly, they don't know that. They don't know what to look for. And I mean, I even had a situation where there's been influencers that have contacted me and they want to come in and they want to collaborate. And I'll look at their page and I can tell like this person's photoshopping their pictures. You can see it. Just like you said, the skin's really smooth. And that then sometimes what I do is like if I'm trying to vet someone, I'm going to look at their tagged photos. If somebody else is posting a picture of them or a video, that other person probably didn't edit it.
Correct.
So that's like a good place to look. And then looking for consistency as I'm scrolling through people's pictures, trying to see, like, is this influencer look the same here and there, taking a look at the skin, like you said, like how airbrushed does it look in these pictures. And I did have a situation where somehow I got duped. Like an influencer
I was
came
just
in.
going to say, can we talk about fake influencer?
Yes. I had an influencer who I trusted, and she came in. And when she came in, just like full face of acne. And this wasn't like, oh, I had a breakout. This was somebody who like very truly has and struggles with acne. And that's okay. But like, if you're going to be an influencer and you're trying to sell yourself to me as an influencer and something that I have to post on my social media too, like that has to be reciprocated. Like, I'm being authentic in my work. You need to be authentic in yours. And so having this person come in, and now all of a sudden we've got a dilemma, because it's like, what am I supposed to do about your face? Because I see on your social media, you're filtering your face, and I can't have filters for my work right now.
Correct.
And so I'm filming, and I've got content where this person is like full blown acne all over with lots of scarring. And then all of a sudden this person takes that content and throws a filter on it. And that was just wild.
Yeah, because then it makes you look bad. And that's not your thing. Your social media, everything is filter free. So then how are we going to incorporate somebody who is a fake influencer?
Yeah.
But can we please talk about fake influencers?
How
we're vetting these people.
Yeah. Like I said, unfortunately, I did get duped by one. And now I've been a lot more strict with who I'm going to work with, how I decide I'm going to work with someone. And honestly, if I'm even going to continue working with people at all anymore. It's been difficult trying to find people who want to come to you because they value your work and they're not just looking for like free something. Yeah. I find that a lot of people are contacting injectors, or particularly at least myself, just looking for something for free. They just want free Botox. They want free fillers.
And then they'll go to the next injector once they need it again.
And that's a problem, particularly in this industry. And I try to explain that to people who contact me, because in my contract for influencers, what I present to them is basically a relationship. Mm-hmm. Because to me, when I'm having people come to my office, even if it's not an influencer, the most important thing is developing that relationship with my patient, because I never want to be the person that doesn't remember you or doesn't remember what we talked about last time, even if it was a year ago and you were getting a new job or going on a vacation, you had a child. Like, when I see you again, we're going to talk about that. And I want to remember that, not just because I put it in my notes or something to make sure I say it to you. It's got to be genuine. Yeah. It's got to be authentic. And if I can't get that with an influencer who's going to like hop around, and again, like, that's not doing me any benefit as a med spa, because it looks like, okay, you went to me for Botox, but then you went to 5 other people. So did you not like my Botox?
Exactly. Like, was I not good enough? Yeah.
It's just a problem. So again, it's like, where do you draw the line? And so there's been a lot of conversations I've had with people in the injector community, like, what are you doing about influencers? Are you presenting them with a contract? And if you are, what are you charging them? What's fair? What's right? Because we can't keep giving services out to these influencers for free who are not going to develop a relationship with you, will throw you to the curb and just go to the next med spa. And so at the end of the day, like, is it best to charge them at least cost, or come up with some sort of agreement where, it's whatever, 40-50% off? Yeah. And how do you decide that? And so for me, I haven't found where I feel comfortable with that yet. For sure, I know I'm not going to be giving away services to anyone because I'm not getting anything reciprocated back to me.
I was just going to say, have you even had anybody come because of them?
No.
So I've heard the same from
that's
all
the
my
biggest
other
issue.
clients.
Everybody else I've talked to, it's like, okay, so you get an influencer, and then are you actually getting people contacting you? Are you getting the value from these people posting? And a lot of people just aren't. And I think the only way you're really going to get that value is that long-term relationship. If somebody sees, hey, this big influencer goes and sees this injector, and they go to them all of the time, and they've been going to them, and you see that longevity and them developing that relationship, that's going to be more impactful than, hey, like
that one post,
they went to this med spa this one time, and oh great, then they went to 3 other ones afterwards. It means nothing anymore.
Yeah. Or if they see the change and they see, like, when they started out right before coming to you, and all the different treatments, like the skin pen that they got, and then they got the lip filler, and then the chin, and then the Botox, and the change and the progression, like you said,
over time,
exactly. And they see, wow, she really does look so much better after a year or a year and a half of going to her. Right. I agree. Yeah, it makes a big difference than just that one Botox.
Yeah, I can't create like a dramatic impact on anyone's face if we're not working together for like the long-term goal. So everybody has like a long-term goal in sight. Most people don't ever come to a med spa and get Botox one time and then they're just done, right?
Right.
Like you don't come and you get lip filler one time and then the rest of your life you're like, oh, I don't want lip filler
I think we did
anymore.
a quote about that. Wasn't it like you don't go to the gym and get results after one time? It's the same thing.
It was, you know, like there's no gym for your face was the quote. It says that's why there's med spas. And we posted that and that kind of blew up. That
one did blow up.
One of our biggest posts that we did. And this quote was like a very organic thing. It was a conversation we were having and I just kind of threw it out there and we're like, oh, we got to make this a post. So working with your injector long-term for that long-term goal. What do you want to do? What do you want to look like? Are we augmenting or are we keeping you the same? And just kind of like, you know, focusing on the anti-aging perspective because there's a difference. You're either augmenting something because you want to change it. Like you talk about your upper lip, it was small. We're augmenting it. We're making it bigger. We're changing how it looks. Or there's people who have nice features already and we're maintaining that with the anti-aging part. And I'm not doing either of those things with an injector that comes to me one time and we don't have that long-term relationship. And like I said,
influencer.
Influencer. It's with anyone, not just influencers, just patients in general. It's really important to have continuity of care with your injector. Otherwise, you're not going to achieve anything.
Yeah.
And if you're bouncing around from person to person, like that next injector doesn't know what the previous injector did. And then if you're just going place to place because say you're price shopping, you're never really going to get where you want to get until you find your person. You have to find your person, just like, you know, people have their nail person, people have their hair person, and it's the same
There's
thing.
a reason why you keep going to them.
Yeah, you have to find your injector, and it's not just do you like their work, do you like the person you're working with? You have to be able to develop that relationship. Trust is really important and feel comfortable talking to them about those things.
Yep, I agree.
So yeah, the influencer game is, you know, what are you going to do about it? What direction are we going to go with that? And so I think influencers that at least want to come work with me, I hope that they would want to come work with me because they value my work. And the best way to show me that you value my work isn't contacting me, asking me something for free.
Yeah.
You know, let's see how this relationship develops and we can negotiate things going forward. But again, if I'm not getting anything coming back to me, I'm not getting anybody that's seen your posts that's coming to me as a patient. You have to imagine like I'm spewing out thousands of dollars.
I don't think people realize that
how much it costs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think people are clueless. I think they think it's free.
Right. It's crazy because I agree. Like probably a lot of these people don't even realize the actual cost of this stuff, but we're talking thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars of cost that's just being thrown at someone and for what? Like particularly if I'm not getting anything back. And sometimes it's not about what I get back. Like, you know, maybe it looks good. All the pretty girls come, they see Leanne, they get injected by Leanne. Like that's a nice look.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, you know, if pretty girl comes sees me and then goes sees a bunch of other people, then it's not that attractive anymore. But again, like you can't come to me, ask for something for free because it's not just free because I'm taking the hit. Like I'm going in the hole tens of thousands of dollars depending on how many times we're working together and just hoping that something's going to become of it. And so it's not like, oh, I lost $100, I lost $50. It's so much bigger than that.
And people don't realize that.
So
you and I send each other back and forth a lot of fake influencers to vet them out or people who post things. And how did they get so many followers overnight? Don't we?
I always send people to you where I'm like,
vet this person out. Yeah.
Hey, look, this person, like, you know, one day we're looking at their profile. They've got 2,000 followers and, oh, I look at their page. The next day, oh, wow, 15K. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Like, did some viral video happen that I didn't know about?
I know.
And you can tell a lot of times, and I've had to learn this, like, how do I know if those followers are real or organic or did they pay for them? And basically what I've had to do is I look at their posts and I scroll through it. How many likes do they have? Do the likes kind of match the ratio of how many people are following them?
Yeah, they get like 4 likes.
Yeah, look at the videos.
I know.
How many views does the video have? Does the video have 400 views, but they have 20,000 followers? Like a lot of their
doesn't
videos
match up.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And so and then you click on the followers and then you start looking through it. And then I start looking at some of the people and they have like 0 posts,
fake accounts,
1 follower.
Robots.
Yeah, just total robots. And that's, again, an unfortunate part of the industry that like an unsuspecting patient or client is none the wiser. They're coming to a profile and they're blown away. Oh my gosh, this person has 20,000 followers.
Mhm.
They must be really good. I need to have an appointment with them. But is the patient really going through there and like vetting your page to make sure like that's legitimate? They're not. They're kind of like following the hype. And that again is also unethical.
And I don't understand why people are so focused on the amount of followers, because there's so many people that have tons and tons of followers and they have no business. But there's people that have barely any following, but their business is booming. And to me, that says a lot more because their reach has been organic, their patients have been organic, and it's been word of mouth. And just like you said, they see Pretty Girl and they know Pretty Girl goes to Leanne. They're going to ask, where did you get this done? Doesn't that say so much more than just somebody asking for something for free? And that's what I try to tell people. I mean, yes, growth is great. You want to grow. Your page has doubled, and that's phenomenal. But at the end of the day, like what we're aiming for is your organic patients, not the fake numbers on Instagram that are worthless. They really don't do anything.
Right.
Just
And
like
I think
the fake influencers.
what I understood from going to like a few conferences, like even having a bunch of fake followers will actually mess like with your algorithm.
does,
Like
yeah.
how does that work exactly?
I think that's something in Instagram. I don't understand the algorithm. I don't think anybody does, to be honest with you. But I think that they see that there's so many robots just following the accounts. And I think Instagram starts flagging. And also think about who they're not interacting with those people, and those people aren't interacting with you. So you might have 20,000 followers, but those 20,000 followers are not interacting with you. And what Instagram wants to know that these people are clicking on you. They're looking through things. This is why your insights are so important. And you look at the reels that you're posting, how many seconds are they spending on that video or on that reel? Are they spending 2 seconds, or are they spending the full length of it? Because that will tell you, and that tells the algorithm, these people are actually interested in this. So if you have those 20,000 followers, but really only 100 are real, it's not going to go up. It's not going to make a difference. You're not going to get boosted out there to all those people to be seen. And you notice how there's always the same people on your stories. Have you ever noticed that? Like
Yes.
You always get, it's because those are the people you're interacting with.
Okay.
So if you have the 20,000 followers, but you're not interacting with 19,000 of them, it's not doing anything. That's why I say it's so stupid to buy followers, because you're not boosting it and you're harming it. And if Instagram sees that you have all these robots, they're going to flag you. They're going to be like, well, something's going on over here. And so many people have lost accounts. Think about how many people have actually lost their accounts and they have to start from scratch. That's horrendous. That's like one of my biggest fears, I think.
Yeah, that would be tough to like spend all this time and energy into like building a social media account and then it gets shut down for whatever reason. I have seen some colleagues have that problem, and fortunately I haven't encountered that yet. But like really the amount of time that I spend putting into social media is quite extensive. I mean, even what I'm doing right this very moment is something with the intention of going on social media. This was planned. I knew like, hey, let's put together this podcast because we're going to post it on social media. And so there is a lot of thought process behind like, what are the things I can be doing so that we can be creating content, whether that's doing a podcast like this or having somebody that's filming me injecting coming in, or me at events, and just literally anything that I can possibly be filming and posting, or, you know, sending to you and somehow creatively putting something together so that we can post. It's just posting. And I've felt like growing my Instagram has been, for me, the biggest game changer in my business. And that was what I realized after bringing you on. Like, I haven't needed to do any like Google ad spends. I haven't really needed to boost any of my posts or do any marketing outside of my Instagram alone, because I am getting enough traffic just through my Instagram to keep my practice going. And I know that I've met like other bigger name injectors who have kind of said the same thing. I think Dr. Doan has really only done Instagram. She also isn't doing any advertising anywhere. And that's very impressive that she's built her Instagram so much that, again, like her entire business is thriving solely off of her Instagram following.
Well, because that's where everybody's at. And especially the generation that you're targeting, that's where they're at.
Yeah. It's been interesting having now been the generation that's gone from, you know, MySpace to Facebook to Instagram. And then there's this TikTok thing, which I'm not like, I'm on because I have you post stuff on there, but I'm not like really on it because I don't understand it. It's not my jam. Like
it's a whole different.
I'm cool with the Instagram thing, but it's like, what's what's next? Like, is there a next, or like, are we always just like in this Instagram phase for now? There's always a next.
Right.
So I just don't know where we go from here. Right now we're like kind of killing it on the Instagram space, but
I know
then it's just like, okay,
and
now
it's
what?
funny because every single one of my newer clients, a majority of them, are because of you and because of what they see that I'm doing on your page. And that's like the biggest compliment, kind of like what you said about you, that you want other people coming to you because they see the work that you've done on their friends. And it's the same thing for me. I like when they see the stuff that you and I are creating. But I always tell people it's not me. It's a collaboration between the two of us. And you are constantly putting in content. Even the silliest of things end up getting used. And that's one of the biggest things. When people don't send me content, I can't create things out of thin air. And the stock photos drive me crazy. Then people,
I don't like stock photos.
no, I don't either. They're not organic. The stock photos are, no.
It's like really gimmicky. That's interesting. So like I've actually never had a conversation with her about any of this stuff, you guys. So she lives in Oregon on the other side of the planet here. And we actually don't socialize much outside of just work related things. Although once upon a time, in high school
we did
used
party
to.
together.
Now it's just strictly been business. We're both busy. We're moms. We got jobs and things going on. And so I have actually had kind of like the same feedback where people will say, oh, wow, like who do you use for social media? Does she come up with all of the stuff that you're posting? And like, how much of this is she doing? Or does she come up with all these ideas? And I'm like, well, it's kind of like a collaborative thing. It's like sometimes, you do come up with things, but a lot of times I have an idea and I share that idea with you and you put in like, your 2 cents on that. And it's something that comes together. And that has been, I think I've been very lucky to find somebody in the social media space that has the same vision, or at least understands my vision and what I'm trying to create. Because although like it might start off maybe something I wouldn't want to do, the end result is what I want.
Yeah.
And so being able to have that communication where we're like, hey, here's this crazy idea I have. I want to do this. And we keep going back and forth until we kind of got that together. And I think that the things that come out of my mouth or from my brain that I share with you, you're able to put together into like a social media format. And I think that would be the most challenging part for me if I ever had to find somebody else, is somebody that can take what's in my head and put it out there.
Yeah. I think that that's so important. And I tell every single client the same exact thing. You have to have a really good relationship and know what the other person's like, because otherwise it's just going to end up being a cookie cutter page, or it's going to end up being what the social media manager likes and not what the injector likes. And the whole entire point of an Instagram is for me, with you, for example, I need to showcase you on your page, and I need for people to find you and get to know you through your page. But if I'm putting my Allie on your page, it's not you. So when they meet you, it's like totally different person than the person that they saw on Instagram. And that's so important to me. I have to have your personality on your page. And I also think that's why you've blown up, is because you're so unique. You got your neon lights and your pink and, your house music, and it's so different than other injectors. And that to me, I think, is so important for actual organic growth on a page. You have to have that personality and that edge. And why are they going to follow you? Why are they going to look through your posts versus all the thousands of injectors that there are just in South Florida? That you have to have that different vibe, and you have that, and you make sure, hey, I don't like this song, change the song. And that's the good thing about our relationship, is we can just back and forth, change this, change that, edit this song, or maybe try this song, or you'll send me songs all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I talk a lot when people ask me about my space, just kind of like how I came up with it or how did it become what it is. And for me, I'm a mom. I've got 2 kids. And, in my 20s, I did really enjoy going out. I really like going to nightclubs. I was not much of like a pub person. I don't like dive bars. It's not really my jam. So like the places I felt the most alive would be when I would go out to the nightclub. And so growing up in South Florida, I went out in Miami all the time. I probably went out in Miami before I was even supposed to go out in Miami. I was in South Beach when I was, 16, 17, 18 years old.
I know.
And
see, this is the part.
Then, I grew up down here and stayed at Nova Southeastern for 1 year. And then from there, I went to Arizona State University, where partying and going out mostly consisted of, Tempe, which really wasn't my jam, but then I'd go out more so in Scottsdale. And then, it was just easy to get around to go to places. So we would go to Las Vegas, we would go to Los Angeles. And so nightlife for me was just like part of who I am. And I'm very much a night person. I don't really like mornings. And I really like
Same with me.
going to a place, like where there's a DJ or just good music. And I like feeling the bass. I like when it's like hitting so hard. It's like vibrating through my body into my chest. Like I like that feeling. And I like being around that scene and those people who are just like really vibing to the music, because like they're not just listening to it, like they're feeling it with like their every being. And so that was something like I wanted to bring to the experience at my office, is like, this is the music I like to listen to. Although
you always have it going on.
Yeah, I've got my playlist, but like I don't get to listen to that really in my car anymore, right? We're listening to like Blippi or
oh yeah, I know the feeling.
Let It Go, Frozen, something like that. Like that sucks. I enjoy
this
it.
Is your space.
Yeah, doing it for my kids, like that's fun, but like I'm like cringing as I'm driving in the car, like, we're doing it for the kids, but like I'd really like to be listening to like BPM or Diplo right now on my Sirius radio, and like not just like a little bit like, oh, they're napping, let's turn it down. Like let's turn it up. Like let's really get this going, like, because I want it to be very loud in my car, and I can't, like, when I'm with my kids.
And I think it's reflecting on your page too, because I'm telling you, it's like in all your stories, in your reels, it's all that vibe, the lights. And we always do that too. You always ask me, are there any lights you could put on the reel?
Right. No, I'm always trying to get her to add. I'm like, can you throw like a laser in there or like something? Because like I really want to like bring that on there. So when I'm here, I'm like in my own little zone where I can listen to my playlist and my music and really like feel what I want to feel. And then like, when I walk out the door, I shut it off and I'm a mom and I go home and, Blippi's back on TV. So,
oh yeah. So it's like when a surgeon puts on their little playlist. It's like the injector's playlist.
That's a good example.
Same thing.
Yeah, like I've been a surgical first assist before. Like when I started out my career, I worked in bariatric surgery, and everybody, like
every surgeon has their playlist.
They have their playlist. And so actually something we did recently, Apple came out with a feature where I was able to add a collaborator to a playlist. And I had always thought that this was like this unique idea that I had, but apparently somebody else was already brewing this. So when it came out like a week ago, I was like, oh my God, I had this idea. Just like, probably every invention that, I've come up with on my own, and then somebody comes out with it like a week later.
They get the money.
But so then I added her to the playlist, and I was like, hey, like, this is what I want to do. Like, I have my playlist. I want you to, like, again, like, I think she already does understand, but like really hear the music that I'm playing in my office. And then also when we're choosing songs that are going on social media, that we're incorporating those songs into my playlist so that it's transferring from social media to my office with my patients.
Yeah. And then they come here and they hear it again. So like I said, it's you. It's the essence of Leanne on your social media, but also when they see you.
Yeah.
And I really think that that's made such a huge difference, because otherwise it's just cookie cutter. And I see way too many cookie cutter pages, and those are just boring. They're not going to follow that.
Yeah. So, that's where the vibe kind of came from. And so I'm so stoked about the new Apple feature, and we've been playing with it. And I've been adding stuff like all weekend long.
I know. You just had one of the songs that I added. I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of the songs that
so that's a fun feature. I enjoy that. And I've even had patients be like, oh my gosh, what station is this? And I'm like, oh, this is
my own.
Like, perfectly curated playlist that I came up with on my own. But like it took me a long time to get to that point, believe it or not, because like I always thought like I need to just have my own playlist. I need to just put together these songs that I want, because I tried to find stations. I've looked on Apple Music, I've looked on Sirius, and there's some that like I like, but they're not perfect. And then you have those awkward moments where you're injecting, and all of a sudden like I thought I had the house music playlist on, and then some random rap song comes on, and you're like, oh shit, like like what's going on? Like, I'm so sorry, this isn't my playlist. Like I've had to say that like a number of times when I'm injecting someone, because like
I don't know why this,
like I don't know where this came from, and I don't know how that happens on playlists. So then I was like, man, I need to take the time and like put together my own. And I think it was like a few months ago, like over like a winter or something, I like dedicated a few days where I was like, I'm just gonna sit down and I'm gonna figure out what songs I'm gonna put on here, and really actually put in some like solid thought and effort like into those songs, and went back and looked at the page to incorporate those songs again, and not encounter those awkward moments anymore where I have these playlists throwing in jams where I'm like, that doesn't really like fit the mood.
rap song with the
It's weird.
cursing. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like when we started out like posting things, occasionally there would be a rap song. And don't get me wrong, like I like
you
rap.
like it,
Like
yeah.
I'm about rap. I have a lot
I
of
think
rap.
you even posted about
Yeah.
that once. If you don't like the song, we can't hang out.
We can't hang out. Like I grew up on like
Right.
Juvenile and Big Timers.
Yeah, that
and
was our thing.
3
in
6
high
Mafia.
school.
Like that's my thing. That's still me. But like that doesn't work with like my injecting. So I
Mhm.
can't post like, hey, I'm injecting somebody's lips and here's 3 6 Mafia, like
Yeah.
two-way trick. Like that's
Yeah.
not gonna work. So like, I wish it would. It doesn't.
doesn't
so We'll
vibe.
just have to play it at another time. So yeah, I don't even know like what wall I would have picked like if I was doing rap music in
I
here, or
know.
like what my neighbors would think about me, or even like patients just come in and all of a sudden I'm playing like
Rap.
Big Timers or something. They're like, oh, who's this little white girl like listening to this is awkward. Like but people like it. Like sometimes when I have posted like a rap song on my stories, like if I'm in the car and somebody notices I've got something
Yeah,
playing
they
in the
comment.
background, they'll comment like, I love that song. Because I think I've got a lot of moms on there too who are like our same age and they
Right.
listened to that same
It's our,
music.
It's our generation.
So they get it.
yeah. I agree.
So yeah, no rap. So I remember having to tell you like, okay, like, hey, I don't think we could use this rap song on here, or like even like poppy stuff, like it just isn't fitting like what's going on here. So yeah, that's kind of the vibe, and that's where it comes from. And I mean, how do you vet like people that you are bringing on as clients to figure out like their vibe? Like I know we've kind of like nailed it down, but like say you're bringing on somebody new, like how would you even know?
I think people are surprised when I tell them that I don't accept any client. And they're like, what? But you're turning down business? Yeah. And it's funny that we said this before we even started the podcast. I'm not going to work with somebody I don't like. But it's true. Why would I work with somebody that I'm not going to be able to have a really good relationship or connection with? It's going to cause me a headache. And it's going to take away my time from the clients that I already have. And that's something that people don't really quite understand, right? So they're not the only client. I have quite a few. And so I kind of, first of all, I know people through you guys, through my current clients. And I can kind of tell based on conversations that I've had, based on their own social media and just the vibe that they have. And I don't know, I'm pretty good at judging character real fast. And when I have initial conversations with them and they are asking some kind of red flag questions, my brain's just saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. It's going to take away your time. It's going to be a headache. It's not going to be worth it. And so I think initial conversations are very telling, very telling.
What's like a red flag question for a social media manager?
Well, I think kind of like for injectors, what's your price? Can you go lower? Why do you charge what you charge? But you're not going to be doing, in-house content. Okay. And if I was doing in-house content, it would be double. And so I think when they start trying to price shop with me, I'm already like red flag. You don't see the value in what I bring. And I think I'm pretty good. And so if I start seeing that, I'm already kind of like iffy about it. Also just, I guess their goals. And if they start talking about growing and doubling their followers, that's also a red flag, because then you're more focused on the wrong thing. You're not really focused on making sure that you look good, that your work looks good, that we're growing organically, that your insights are good. You're more focused on a number that I'm not going to be paying for you to buy followers and, just to have the fake numbers on there. So I think a lot of those are just red flag for me.
So what are like pet peeves that like clients could do that would like set you off?
Not sending me content.
Okay.
Or posting without talking to me first. There are so many that will just like post. And I'm like, okay, I get it. It's your own Instagram. It's not mine. Although some do tell me it's your Instagram and they laugh about it and they won't post anything unless I do it. But seeing, okay, this. I really plan out your month to 2 months. So I have an idea of the 3 pillars of content that we're going to have. We're going to have education, we're going to have value, and we're going to have like funny stuff. We're going to add memes, right? We're going to entertain people. So I'm very methodical when I'm posting all of that stuff because I want to have, on top of those 3 things, your before and afters. But we're not going to have a page of just before and afters. We're going to have a page that incorporates everything, but it also shows your work. And I'm so methodical about how I'm posting everything so that we're not talking about Botox all week long, or we're not talking about lip filler all week long, or you know what I mean? So when I plan everything out, I have it in my notes and I have every single post, and then somebody goes and they post something. And I'm just like, oh, I planned all of this to make it look good and to make sure that we're staying on track. Or reels. If they post a reel and the cover page has nothing to do with your actual Instagram, it throws it off.
I think I did that once.
But I think it was a picture of you, so I went with it. I know which one you're talking about, but it was you. It was a picture of you, so that was totally okay because it's still like you. It's not a picture of like, I don't know, a play date for your kids.
Okay.
You know? So that just blows my mind because it's okay if you want to post something, but at least just give me a heads up. Like, hey, I'm posting this because then I can say, okay, can I provide you the reel cover to make sure that it looks aesthetically okay? Or just we can talk about small things like, can we incorporate certain hashtags or certain SEO words to at least make sure that the post is getting the right people looking at it? That's one of them. And then not providing any content or ideas. I can come up with ideas all day long because I can look on Instagram and come up with plenty of ideas. But how do I know that that's what you want for your page? I don't. That's what I would want, but it doesn't mean that that's what you want. Or if you have no content to provide, then we're back to stock photos. And that's the biggest pet peeve for me is the stock photos. And even just bad quality content because it just doesn't look good. I actually would rather not post something if it's going to look bad than post that bad quality.
What is like something that classifies as bad quality?
If it's a picture of just simple before and after and smudges of the fingers on the camera and there's glares on one side and it's not, you can't really tell the difference between the before and the after because there's so many smudges and there's glares or there's a lot of shadows. If the lighting is not right and there's shadows, you can't tell. And you know this. If you're going to get a good angle of the jawline, but there's shadows everywhere, I can't tell where it begins or it ends if everything looks the same.
Right.
And so then that looks bad on your page and that makes you look bad as an injector. Or if there's just videos and they're moving like crazy, I can't see what's happening. Like, focus in on whatever you're filming. And I get it because not everybody has somebody filming 24/7, but it's much better to just put it on something like on a little stand and have it recording, which you do all the time. And and it's funny, those actually do really well. There was one that we did on what an injector can't do. Do you remember that one? That one blew up. And it was, you put it on a stand. That's it. It wasn't something like a big production. It was just on the stand and it got so many shares.
Yeah, most of my stuff is just like on a stand because like I said, it's like I'm a one-man show that I don't have help. There's nobody else to like hold the
But
camera.
there hasn't been anything wrong with it.
Yeah. So I have like stands. So I have a stand that's like connected to my lights. I have a freestanding stand that I could like move around and just hold the cell phone. Right now we have like a cell phone filming us like doing a time lapse hanging off of like my exam chair.
Exactly.
So just having, I think, the right equipment to be able to film content, whether you have a person or you don't have a person who can assist you with it. But I agree. Like I try to be very meticulous in making sure that my before and after photos are consistent, not just like in the work being done, but like paying attention to
the light,
the angles, the shadows, the stuff that you're talking about. So like if I'm taking a picture of someone that, you know, we're hitting that like 30 or 45 degree angle, or if it's a 90 degree angle in the before, it's a 90 degree angle in the after, like making sure that's consistent. Because sometimes you'll see the before photo and it'll have one angle and the after photo has a completely
you can't tell the
angle.
difference.
And it's like, wait, what am I looking at here? And then it's really hard to compare the two. Or sometimes that people are doing that as kind of like a way to like
make it look better than it is.
To think that it's better than what it is because one angle looked better than the other. And so they're not like, particularly with a jawline, like if you get the jawline from different angles, like you can make your after actually look better than what it really is with using like a little bit
right
of
shade
trickery, like with how you're holding your camera and doing the angles. And so if somebody sees somebody's pictures that aren't like consistent angles, I think that that's also like a little red flaggy. And like I do see that a lot, like with jawline filler, how close or how far is the camera when they took the picture, or are they holding it up here, are they holding it down here, because that's going to change like what the jawline
the shadow
and like does it make their face look more square or more in, just based off of the closeness of the lens or where the lens is placed. You can really see that, and people will do that too with like non-surgical nose jobs. If you really like pay attention when someone's showing like a non-surgical nose job image and see like how much of the opposite eye are you viewing in the before picture versus the after, and like really
you
looking.
taught me that makes such a big difference.
Some people will have people like on a jawline picture like stick their head out a little bit more, or like tilt their head up a little bit more, and it's like
that
stretching
drives me crazy. The jawlines of before and they're going like this, and then the after they're going like,
it's like come on. Like, but again, like a patient who doesn't know to look for these things, they're sitting there and they're getting gypped because they think that it looks good, but they don't realize like this is a little bit of photography trickery going on here. Where just that little bit of angle change is making all the difference in the world to somebody's jawline or non-surgical nose job based on like how they're angling their cameras, which is just wild. So yeah, I think a lot of times, like you said, there's shadows. If somebody doesn't have proper lighting, it just
drives
looks
me crazy.
Bad. The pictures look like poor quality. You can have like the best camera all day long, but if you don't have good lighting, it just looks bad. Or if somebody like didn't use good lighting in their before photo for like say like an under eye, like a tear trough. Well, yeah, of course their tear troughs are going to look darker, and then in the after you throw on a bright light and it looks brighter. Well,
but you can always tell because the photo's darker and then it's lighter.
Right. Or if somebody's looking up with their eyes at the ceiling, like for a tear trough photo, then they better be looking up with their eyes in the after photo too, not straight ahead, because changing just even the way that your eyes are looking in a before and after photo of your tear troughs is going to change what the result supposedly looks like. So those things are just super important. And I mean, it's crazy to think that like as an injector, how much of like photography, videography, social media that like I've had to think about and incorporate like into my life and into my career, when like, I just wanted to come in here and like do Botox and fillers and just inject in. And now all of a sudden, like there's this whole big production like going on behind the scenes, and so many more things that I'm having to like take consideration of when I'm seeing my patients and doing my photos, and making sure that like I'm hitting those angles and that you don't have a weird shadow on your face. And then, what the people don't see after they leave. Okay, now that I have this content, what am I doing with it? Well, sometimes that content's getting uploaded into like our shared space, and then she's taking that content and we're coming up with creative ideas and then mishmashing that together. And then at some point you'll see that come out on my page. And then, like, there's even times like I've taken pictures and I've done everything I can as far as like getting the lights and the angles, and like I don't really love it. Like, sometimes I choose not to post like every single photo of everything that I do. Like,
and sometimes some of them are so good that we can't wait to post it.
Yeah. And then, that one might be like a few months out on content, but we're going to bump it up because it's good. And so I think like before getting into this too, I always wondered like, is this person posting like every single one of their before and afters? And like, I think the reality is nobody's posting all of their before and afters. You do have to like pick and choose your best work. And so that in itself too, although like, again, like that makes your social media look really good. I think that's the unfortunate part of it too. Like every patient can't always come in and expect to say like, oh, I love these lips. I really like what you did here.
But their anatomy is completely different.
That's right. And they just have totally different anatomy. Like not every single thing can be like reproduced on every single person. And that's challenging.
Yeah. Not everybody can get Botox and filler. So, and we posted about this, and that's the one that got a lot of reshares. Talk to me about that, because I think people think that they can just come to you and you can fix anything, but you're not a surgeon.
Yeah. So unfortunately, like there are a handful of people that come in, and the reality is like what their goal is does not align with like my actual capabilities as an injector. Like there's only so many things that I can do. So I work with injectable fillers, which is basically like a gel substance, which is technically considered like a gel implant, right? So there's varying amounts of fillers, all different types of brands, and they have different types of consistencies. And then you have neurotoxins. I don't do other things that some injectors do, like threads, Morpheus treatments, things like that. But like in the capabilities of what I'm doing, which is strictly focusing on injectables, because that's what I wanted to kind of like hone in on. Somebody comes in and they're taking their eyebrow and they're lifting it up like this, like, oh, I want a brow lift like this.
Yeah, no, you need surgery for that.
That's where there's like, immediate conversation. Like there's not like a let me inject you and then let's talk about this later. We're going to talk about this right now. And I just kind of point out to people like, hey, you see how you're like lifting your eyebrow here with your fingers? Like, I just want to be completely transparent with you that what I can do to you with neurotoxins or fillers like is not going to reproduce what you're doing with your finger. And actually what you're doing with your finger right now would be more of like a surgical brow lift. And having to educate patients on different types of surgeries that are available to them and making sure that they're aware of all of their options, even if that's outside of what I'm capable of doing, so that they have realistic expectations and goals within my office. And that if it's something that I'm not able to provide to them, that it's something that they know at least where to go seek that out. And I think that conversation has been a little bit easier for me too, since a lot of people that follow me know that in 2023, I had a brow lift, and I also had an upper blepharoplasty as well as a lower skin pinch and actually like a bit of a tail lift. And a lot of people are like, what's tail lift? So there was like a surgical incision kind of on the sides of my head near my temples, and they went in and lifted like the tail of my brow. And now that I've had these things done, and these were my first plastic surgeries, I've never had anything else done, it's easier for me to speak to my patients about those things that I have had done, and then have them come back and look at me and be like, wow, I would have never thought that you had those things done. And that they feel a little bit more comfortable hearing those things come out of my mouth, because I'm not just looking at them saying, you need surgery. Like, well, it's like, no, I'm telling you this also from experience, not just because like I'm educated in this and knowledgeable and these are actually all of your options, but like I've had these things done, and let me talk to you about my experience with this and show you my before and after so that you can actually see like, what does a surgical brow lift look like? How was my experience with that? Was it painful? And kind of talk about those things with people. And I have had some patients ultimately decide like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Like, I think I would rather have a surgical brow lift, and they ask who the surgeon is, and I refer them to that surgeon, and that's the better answer for them. But for some people, price is an issue, and they may not be ready to go pay for a surgery. And sometimes people are scared of having a surgery. And so we have to talk about like, what are other options for them? And if, what they want isn't within their, aesthetic budget per se, then, what can I produce for them that is realistic? Because I would never want somebody to go home thinking that I was going to do this to them. And that's not something I'm capable of doing, unfortunately, unless they wanted like a Spock brow or like McDonald's arches, which is typically not something my patients are requesting.
Yeah, no. So I think that's another reason why you asked me this earlier, but another reason why I ended up getting stuff done too is because, just like you said, that you want to know what you're talking about, and having people know that you understand what it's like to be on the other side of things. That for me was really important too. If I'm going to be a social media manager for aesthetics, but I'm not getting stuff done, why? And to me, that was really important in understanding also what you guys do. Having it done myself gives me a much better understanding of what the procedures are like when you are going to inject Botox, why you do the things that you do prior to it, and why there's aftercare instructions. And knowing those things as a patient myself also helps me be a better social media manager, because I understand it from the patient side. So I think it's also really important to not just do the social media aspect of it, but also be a patient myself.
Right. And a lot of things that like I do as far as like skills that I have. So whether that's like, lip fillers or temple fillers, chin fillers, jawline fillers, nose fillers, butt fillers, if I offer the service, it's very likely that like I have tried these things on myself before offering them to other people, so that I can experience them and be able to explain them to people. And pain levels and what does it feel like? What does it look like?
Yeah, that's actually true. The pain levels, if you're not getting it, how are you going to talk to them about, certain ones hurt more than others?
It kind of reminds me of like men that are OBGYNs, right? And like,
Yeah,
you talk about like having a baby and maybe you want to talk about pain levels or something. And it's like, how could they ever really know or understand like the pain level of like giving birth or a C-section? And so going that direction, though, I have actually always found it quite interesting when there are males in aesthetics. So guys who are injectors is very curious to me, right? So it's like, how did you get into this? Why do you like doing this? What about this like excites you? And a lot of them are like really good at what they do.
I know, I've noticed that. Yeah.
And I know you are working with
a male
now.
Injector.
And
and his work is phenomenal.
Right. And so I think that males are a very interesting niche of this industry because there's so few of them doing this. And, the ones that are doing it are very good at what they do. And it's also like, as a patient too, like you have to decide, do you want a male or a female injector? You go get a massage. You want a male or female masseuse. And so this is a thing.
Or your nails, male or female.
Patients get to decide now. It's not just like, a one gender industry. We have both. It is very female dominated, but the male aspect to it is very interesting to me. And also, male patients are very interesting to me.
I know. I love when you get male patients.
Yes, that's like my favorite thing. And so people always like say, what do you like to do? I actually, I would really enjoy doing like a good male before and after. And we posted one recently.
We did post one recently.
I was like so excited to post that. When I get males that are willing to do aesthetic work, whether that's neurotoxin or fillers, it's exciting because you don't come across it often or all of the time. And then when you do it and it makes like a good impact and it's like a good before and after and they don't look weird, crazy, different, that's so impactful because there's so many men out there that think that they're going to look weird or strange or they don't recognize the value in aesthetics. And so being able to produce those before and afters is, I think, really cool to have a solid male before and after. I'd really love to see more male clients come through here.
I agree. It's like you're busting that myth of the botched type of people, that go on the show. And the men, when they come in and they think, well, I'm just going to look like those crazy people. And then they come and then they have really good work, like the one that we just posted. And I think it helps so much, like just breaking the stigma and busting those myths, and men can look good too.
Yeah. I mean, the most challenging thing when injecting a male for me is the whole time I'm focused on like, oh my gosh, don't feminize this patient, don't feminize this patient, because there's a very different skill set that you have to have when you're thinking about injecting a male and focusing on like the anatomical differences of a male face versus a female face, and where is the apex of the cheek on the male versus the female. They're in different places. And so when I'm injecting, I'm actually also focusing on lights and darknesses on people's faces too. Just like when you do makeup, you do highlights and contours. And so we're doing the same thing in aesthetics, where I'm taking injectables and I'm putting them in places where we have favorable highlights, or we have, we're moving shadows away that we don't necessarily want. And so when you think about that on a male, it's very different than how it is on a female. So injecting a male face is quite a challenge because you don't want to feminize them. And when you're used to doing female patients all the time, it's very easy to see a male before and after on somebody's page where it looks like, oh, wow, you just feminized this person. But you have a male that comes in and they don't want that feminization. And so, even a chin, the width of a male chin is very different than a desirable width of a female chin. And if you narrow a male's chin, all of a sudden,
then they'll look feminized.
Yeah, they're not masculine anymore. And even non-surgical nose jobs, you give somebody a Tinkerbell tip lift, now you've feminized your male. And so it's something to consider and think about. And if you have an injector who hasn't taken courses or education on like the male anatomy and the different places to put filler in males versus females, you could potentially get an injector who's going to feminize a male patient. It was so cool hanging out with you today and going over all things social media and aesthetics. This is our first podcast. This is my first podcast ever. And it was very natural, very easy to just talk to you for like the last hour and a half. So thanks for coming to my office, Alex.
Thanks for making me the first person to come to your podcast. We'll have to do it again.
Absolutely.